This topic resonates deeply with me because it impacts so many, yet it isn't often spoken about in terms of its toll on our psychological health. And I know that Dr. Culbreth has talked a little bit about that, so I'm going to pick up where she left off. So I've dedicated the last 13 years or so of my life to researching this topic in various capacities. It's been the predominant focus of my research. I also examined the relationship between skin tone and self-esteem amongst South Asian women from a multi-generational perspective. This is actually the first study done to date looking at this issue across the family unit from a multi-generational perspective. We know that colorism is a complex societal challenge that's persisted across cultures in the globe for many, many years. It's infiltrated our interactions, our perceptions on a daily basis. And today I want to delve into an issue that looks at the intersection of dermatology, psychology, as well as social justice. This phenomenon is deeply, ingrained into our psyches and our just everyday things that we do and see, and it affects not only how individuals perceive themselves and others, but also significantly impacts their overall health and well-being. So I had some ads I wanted to share with you. Unfortunately, I'm not able to show them, but they were just some Fair and Lovely ads that I wanted to put across. You've probably seen a lot of them through your everyday interactions, driving and seeing them on billboards, in advertisements, in magazines, on TV. And we know across South Asia, Fair and Lovely is very, very common. It's been rebranded lately as Glow and Lovely. Instead of reworking the formula of the skin lightening cream into another product or moving these kinds of products from stores, the company has done nothing. It just changed one word. So now it's called Glow and Lovely. So this performative move from the company needs to be called out, and it needs to be taken, note. It's not really a tangible action. It's not something that will, rectify or change the course of why it's continuing to be sold over counters in pharmacies or at the chemist. So the time, money, and effort that they've poured into convincing people that light skin is the only acceptable standard of beauty. A word change does nothing to address the deep-seated impacts of colorism that Dr. Culbreth was talking about earlier. Using new words like glowing, brightening, and spot reducing are just marketing strategies for saying white or light skin. They're a poor attempt at putting a veneer of acceptability on an outdated and problematic product. Across South Asia and the diaspora, we know that skin lightening creams are hugely popular, have received endorsements, across Bollywood and Lollywood with actors such as Shah Rukh Khan. However, despite best advertising efforts, the fact remains that these creams are dangerous. And we've heard about that from Dr. Ronald Hall, as well as Dr. Culbreth, on the kinds of chemicals that exist in here, right? Corticozoids, mercury, hydroquinone. These creams and the advertisements that go along with them reinforce the view that dark skin is undesirable, which actively contributes to the harmful obsession with skin lightening, and that it just grips so many communities across the globe. So I'm focusing more on psychological health, and this is what I talk about. It's one of those overlooked areas. It stems from societal pressure to conform to certain beauty standards, right, that can really exacerbate our skin condition. So psychological health is actually looked at as the sum of how we think, how we feel, relate, and exist in our day-to-day lives. Our thoughts, our perceptions, emotions, motivations, interpersonal relationships, and behaviors are actually all a product of our experiences and the skills that we've developed to meet life's challenges. So this includes a holistic sort of look at it. It includes mental, emotional, social, and spiritual dimensions. Possessing strength and resiliency in these dimensions can help us maintain an overall positive well-being and can really help us, face difficult situations in life. Most experts identify several basic elements that are sort of, they say, if you're of positive psychological health, these are the kinds of behaviors that people will regularly display. They will feel good about themselves. They feel comfortable with other people, respect others, and have compassion. They are also self-compassionate. So it's important to be compassionate towards others, but also towards ourselves. They can control their tension and anxiety. They meet the demands of life. They can curb their hate and guilt. They maintain a positive outlook on life. They value diversity, and they appreciate and respect the world around them. So in sum, psychologically healthy people possess all four of those areas I was talking about, and resilient individuals have the ability to overcome challenges. Even if small things come up in life, they're still able to move forward and look at things in a positive way, and usually respond to challenges and frustrations in an appropriate, healthy way. And then I had, unfortunately, I wish you could see my slides, but it's not working. But I want to talk a little bit about intersectionality. So it's important to look at the issue of colorism through the lens of intersectionality because it really highlights, how different aspects of who we are in our identity. So let's think about things like gender, maybe race, maybe age, all these other things. I always say I like to use my hands, right? These are all the different parts of us. They intersect. And these intersecting identity markers can really compound the discrimination that individuals who hold multiple marginalized identities can experience. So this compounding discrimination can have a negative effect on a person's health, physical, mental, or emotional, and factors such as colorist attitudes, for example, in society, across the media, maybe even in someone's family, can have lasting negative effects. Growing up and being surrounded by colorist messages through all the areas that I just mentioned really push the idea that fair skin is attractive, but in turn, this can really negatively impact one's sense of self-esteem, their overall identity and level of self-esteem, and that this can carry on into adulthood, as Dr. Culbreth was talking about earlier. So family, culture, and media play a pivotal role in race socialization and in promoting a sense of racial, ethnic, and cultural pride in children. Messages related to racial and or ethnic pride are passed down from parents to youth and are considered to be what we call protective measures. These are to promote positive racial identity as well as to prepare children to deal with things like racism and colorism as they get older. So for women, looking at psychological health and self-esteem issues, this is across the genders, but more women are more so impacted by beauty norms across the globe. So the implications of colorism are even more so pronounced. We see societal beauty standards often placed there's a premium on light skin, right? We call it social capital. And that's according to Dr. Margaret Hunter. So the idea is that light skin has so much value attached to it. It's almost like money. So we say social capital, and it gives you all the things that was talked about. It could give you a good job. It could give you a good life partner. It can even give you better treatment in your job, making more money, better access to opportunities, education, many, many things that the research has shown us, and it's been presented to you this morning. And women have faced increased pressure to conform to these types of standards, and this can impact the self-esteem and mental health so much. Facing constant scrutiny can lead to things like anxiety and stress, depression, body dissatisfaction, so more so body dysmorphic disorder, which I'll be talking about in a moment, low self-esteem, internalized racism and colorism, social withdrawal. So studies across the globe have shown that people of color, particularly those with darker skin, receive less adequate medical attention and face biases in clinical settings. So some of the detrimental effects start off by talking, I won't talk about anxiety and depression too much because I think Dr. Culbreth talked quite a bit about it, but individuals who experience colorism are more likely to suffer from symptoms of anxiety and depression than those who do not. So for example, dark-skinned individuals may feel more isolated and excluded from social settings. This is going to lead to feelings of, sadness, loneliness, isolation, and they could also experience, if they experience any type of scrutiny, maybe teasing, bias, any type of prejudice or covert or overt discrimination related to the color of their skin, they can suffer from deeper levels of anxiety and depression, like Dr. Culbreth was talking about, that trauma that stays with you, for life. It's not something you can just easily shake off. The relationship is further exacerbated by direct experiences of discrimination and exclusion. So, for example, in the study that I did, the women that I spoke to and met with darker skin tones reported feeling so much deep sadness and unease caused by anxiety due to societal pressures and the stigma that they felt related to, different sources coming at them to put pressure on them to lighten their skin. There's a great deal of literature that shows in African American populations, there's a strong correlation with depression and internalized racism and colorism, really highlighting how societal biases can lead to pervasive feelings of inadequacy as well as hopelessness. And then if we look at, I was talking about body dysmorphic disorder. So we know body image and self-esteem go hand in hand, right? Self-esteem starts in the mind, not in the mirror. It can change the ways you understand and value yourself and your self-worth. Healthy body image and self-esteem are a big part of well-being. So body image and self-esteem, they're going to directly influence each other. So your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors. If you don't like your body or a part of your body, it's really hard to feel good about your entire self. But the reverse is also true. If you don't value yourself, it's hard to notice the good things and give your body the actual respect that it deserves. Skin tone is a prevailing variable that dictates body image and is a measure of beauty across the globe, unfortunately. Colorism can contribute to mental health issues, as I've just chatted about. But body dysmorphic disorder is a common, often severe, complex disorder characterized by excessive concern about one or more perceived, and I'm going to highlight that word, perceived, because it's what we think. Doesn't mean it's true. Defects in one's physical appearance. So individuals with body dysmorphic disorder believe that they look maybe abnormal or not beautiful, or for example, they think they're ugly or deformed, whereas to others, they don't see these things. They think the person is, quote unquote, normal looking. Individuals with body dysmorphic disorder suffer from severe emotional distress that can be overwhelming and cause difficulties in their daily functioning. So, for example, they can have trouble focusing or concentrating, being around other people, dating, socializing, doing their schoolwork. The difficulties can contribute to diminished quality of life and may be severe. Sometimes, in extreme cases, we can see psychiatric hospitalization and suicide. And they're always trying to do things to fix their perceived flaw. So you could see the behaviors you might see, and this is important to know in your practice when Dr. Colbert was saying, do that deeper dive, do that psychological assessment when someone's coming into you and seeing you to say they want to lighten their skin. Is there excessive mirror checking? Is there excessive comparison with the appearance of others? Maybe excessive and or self-injurious procedures to lighten skin, like she gave the example of the little girl scratching the skin. Wearing clothing or accessories to camouflage what they perceive as the flawed part of their body, adopting elaborate makeup, beauty routines, the white powder on the face, doctor shopping for cosmetic treatments, so trying to find that doctor that's going to help them lighten their skin, frequent clothes changing, to maybe a color that they feel looks better against their skin tone, taking lots of selfies on their cell phone to check their appearance and using different type of lighting to make their complexion look lighter. A lot of the literature on this topic looks at physical beauty, and there are some studies that look at this in South Asian populations, and across the board, skin tone and body image disturbance are what they look at them. It shows that majority of women respond less favorably to aspects of their body, and in South Asian communities, skin tone seems to be huge. Low self-esteem and low self-worth. So colorism can foster a negative sense of self and really undermine, our self-confidence, particularly among individuals with darker skin tones who may internalize these feelings of inferiority and inadequacy. And individuals who experience colorism often subjected to negative comments about their skin tone, which can significantly affect their sense of self, right, and their sense of self-worth. Research shows that in communities where lighter skin is idealized, darker skin individuals report lower levels of self-esteem that's perceived and actual discrimination. And Dr. Culbreth did talk about internalized oppression. So I talk about that as well in colorism. So it refers to the acceptance and internalization of, negative societal beliefs and stereotypes about one's own racial or skin tone group, leading to feelings of inferiority, self-doubt, just not feeling good about oneself. And individuals who experience colorism may internalize the belief that their skin tone is ugly, undesirable, leading to self-hatred and a negative self-image. Dark-skinned women who internalize colorism will perceive themselves as unattractive or less attractive than others. This distinction is very important. So not every woman who internalizes colorism will see herself as unattractive, but she may rate her beauty below others with more Eurocentric features. So maybe Eurocentric features, maybe lighter color hair, like blonde hair, white skin, light eyes, and individuals may exhibit certain behaviors, such as avoiding the sun, wearing certain colors against their skin tone, covering up their mirrors, wearing lighter shades of makeup, bleaching their skin, wearing colored contacts. Race socialization is a vital component in the development of children in racialized families. The literature and research shows that race socialization can serve as a protective factor in racialized families because it provides family members with racial, ethnic identity resiliency and various coping mechanisms. And what else we see, the stress of dealing with colorism can also lead to things like social withdrawal and isolation. So people just don't want to be around other people. Facing frequent color discrimination leads others to just step away from the world. And the withdrawal can exacerbate feelings of loneliness, and the impact can, obviously, we know, have a further toll on one's mental health. Colorism really marginalize people, in their own communities as well. that social exclusion limits their access to resources and opportunities. This marginalizes an individual and creates a sense of inferiority. It can impact one's relationships, social interactions, and overall sense of belonging to various social systems in their life, maybe their friend circle, maybe their family, or the larger community that they belong to. So children and youth, we know, learn by what they see, right? So without the protective factors that I've just chatted about, providing that cushion and that resiliency building, it's easy for people to be swayed by factors such as media and popular culture. So bringing it back to your field, the dermal sciences field, as professionals in the dermal sciences field, understanding and addressing colorism is crucial for several reasons. So for all of you providing holistic patient care, right? So you want to be able to provide comprehensive, holistic care for all of your patients. And it's important to consider the sociocultural and psychological dimensions of skin health. So recognizing the impacts of colorism allows one to offer more empathetic and effective treatment plans that addresses both the physical symptoms and underlying stressors that Dr. Culbreth was talking about. Advocacy and education, right? We all have a role in advocating against harmful practices associated with colorism, such as the use of unsafe skin lightening products. So educating patients about the risks of these products and promoting safe alternatives is a responsibility that must be embraced and practiced. Professional practice, so by fostering a more inclusive and culturally competent practice, you can challenge biases within your own institutions and ensure equitable treatment of all of your patients. This will involve incorporating cultural sensitivity and awareness into training, practice, and within your patient interactions. And the broader social impact, right? So engaging in those conversations, those dialogues about colorism within your professional sphere, this is going to help contribute to broader societal change. So by addressing these issues publicly and within your practice, you can help shift societal attitudes and support the movement towards greater inclusivity and equity in the field. And I want to leave you with a few strategies, that will help you address instances of colorism that requires more of a collective effort and systemic change. So some actions that you can take, education and awareness. We've talked about this. So implementing regular training programs focused on cultural awareness that educate practitioners about the historical and social implications of colorism is really, really important. This will enhance their understanding of diverse client backgrounds and improve their ability to provide empathetic care. Inclusive marketing and representation. So ensuring that marketing materials, educational resources, and clinical environments reflect a diverse range of skin tones and skin types. This representation is so, so important. It can really help clients feel seen and valued, fostering a more welcome environment. Where do we feel more connected, right? Where we see people that look like us, that talk like us. That's a really important thing. And then the third thing is personalized consultations. So conducting thorough consultations that prioritize the unique experience and concerns of clients related to their skin tone. Practitioners should ask open-ended questions to understand how colorism has impacted their client's body image and personal identity, allowing for more tailored treatment plans. The promotion of positive skin narratives. This is so, so essential. Actively promoting narratives that celebrate diverse beauty standards within your practice. So this can include client testimonials, educational campaigns, and community outreach initiatives that highlight positive representation of all skin tones. Collaboration with maybe community organizations that are around you. So partnering with local organizations, NGOs, maybe that are focused on equity and mental health work. Maybe they can host workshops and discussions on colorism. This collaboration can really create a supportive community network. It's going to continue on with that dialogue and provide clients with resources that address the psychological impacts of colorism. Policy and legislation, so supporting policies and legislation that prohibits discrimination based on skin color in health is so essential, and using that intersectional approach that I was talking about earlier. So addressing the multiple layers of oppression and the compounding effects is important. So for example, collaborating with the organization and movements that address intersecting forms of discrimination, such as racial justice, gender equity. These types of initiatives would really, move things forward on creating change on this issue. And then challenging industry practices. So holding industries accountable for promoting colorist narratives and practices. So such as, companies that are selling these skin lightening products, these bleaching products, and discriminatory beauty standards are greatly needed. The multinational companies profit off instilling insecurities in others, and we need legislative change that is going to push for ethical and responsible marketing that promotes diversity and inclusivity, and not just pushing these kinds of dangerous skin lightening products. So for example, holding companies accountable for promoting these types of products, maybe boycotting or stopping, people having a movement where everyone stops buying these products. Because if no one's buying them, then they're not going to sell. They're not going to be on the shelves anymore. The power is in the consumer's hands. So support ethical brands and initiatives that prioritize diversity, sustainability, and social responsibility in the marketing and production practices. So by implementing these strategies in your practice in dermal sciences, you can work towards creating positive change and combating colorism in our communities and beyond. It does require a collective effort. It's power in numbers to challenge biases and foster a culture of celebration of all.
Thank you, Dr. Sarda, for your compelling insights.